When it comes to abusive and toxic relationships with narcissistic people, the idea of whether or not you should forgive them or give them another chance can seem really clear and simple to people outside of the relationship, outside of the situation. But I know no matter how much common sense you try to apply to the situation, it's not always so simple and clear when you're the one in the middle of it, when it's your life, when this is somebody that you have known, that you have shared certain things with, that you might still be emotionally attached to. This idea of whether or not you should forgive them or give them another chance can torment you for a long time, no matter how obvious the answer might seem to outside people. And this is something I want to try to help anybody out there struggling with this with today in today's video. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. Now, in today's video, I'm going to talk quite a bit about narcissists specifically and why it's generally not a good idea to give narcissists a second chance once they've hurt you or betrayed you or whatever it is they've done to you. But I first want to go over the idea in general of just forgiving people, because I know that when it's you, when it's your life, this person that has hurt you, or this person that's asking you for a second chance or expecting you to forgive them, it's not just a narcissist to you. Or you might even be struggling with the idea of, how do I know if this person's a narcissist? And this person is a human being to you with a history and emotional meaning attached to this person. So it's not so simple to just write this person off as a narcissist all the time, or that's not necessarily helpful if you really can't decide or you really don't know what to do. So the first part of this video, I'm going to talk about the idea of forgiving somebody or giving them a second chance in general, and some tools and some thought experiments you can do or you can use to help you see your situation more clearly and decide what is right for you. And then I'll go more into specifically why forgiving or giving narcissists a second chance is generally going to backfire on you. And you may have noticed that I keep saying forgiving and giving second chances. From now on in this video, when I say forgiveness, I mean giving this person another chance, letting them back into your life, or not asserting certain boundaries to protect yourself. I know that the idea of forgiving somebody doesn't always mean giving them another chance. You can forgive somebody without actually telling them that you forgive them, or you can forgive somebody without letting them back into your life, or without giving them another chance to harm you, right? But just for simplicity's sake, for the rest of this video, when I say forgive, I mean giving them another chance. I mean letting them back in and basically absolving them of whatever it is they've done. Okay, so what makes this such a confusing, difficult decision, especially with somebody that's maybe done really awful things to you or treated you really horribly? As a human race, we are taught the idea that forgiving somebody, giving them another chance, giving them mercy, grace, forgiveness, these things are good. It's good to give people second chances. And we all need a little mercy, a little grace. And this is just a nice part of a good, healthy, happy society, right? But at the same time, giving somebody another chance to harm you when that person's not really sorry, or when that person isn't going to change, that's generally not a good idea, and it's going to backfire on you. But how do you know the difference? How do you know when it's going to be a good thing to forgive this person, or when it's just going to create more problems, when it's just going to make things worse and whatever has happened is just going to continue? How do you know the difference? Let me first address the idea that you should forgive people. because narcissists will use this on you a lot, or manipulative people. They will guilt trip you into forgiving them. They'll make you feel like you should and that you're a bad person if you don't. I really want to make it clear to anyone listening that even though we all need forgiveness and we all need a little mercy and a little grace, no one individual person owes that to anyone. You do not owe forgiveness to anybody. If someone hurts you, you have the right to decide for yourself that you are never going to give that person another chance. And that does not make you a bad person. And yes, that person needs a little grace and mercy, but you don't owe that to them, period. And when someone makes you feel like you owe them forgiveness, like you're a bad person or you're mean if you don't forgive them, that, in my opinion, proves that they are not sorry about what they've done. If they were truly sorry, they would understand why you're maybe hesitant to let them back into your life or why you're imposing consequences. If they really understood the gravity of what they've done, they would understand the consequences and they would respect your right to impose those consequences. So if the reason that you can't decide whether or not you should forgive somebody is because that person's putting you on a guilt trip, I hope that this can help you see that a little more clearly. Anyone who feels entitled to forgiveness isn't really sorry, and if they're not really sorry, they're not going to change. Okay, but what if the reason you can't decide whether or not to forgive somebody isn't just because they're putting you on a guilt trip, but maybe you really have a hard time letting go of this? You really want for this person to be sorry, to change their ways. You're not ready to say goodbye to them, or you're not ready to impose these consequences and assert these boundaries. You don't want to do this, but you can't really decide if it's something you should do, and you're just struggling with this back and forth. Should I give this person another chance? How do I know if I can? How do I know if they're going to hurt me again? I think for yourself, the way that you think about the way that this is going to affect you and your life, I think it's first important to think about whether or not you would be able to move on. If you do forgive this person and let them back into your life, or whatever forgiveness would mean in this situation. If you do, is this really something that you can move past? I know for me, when I have considered specifically whether or not to end a relationship with somebody who's really hurt me, it seemed really confusing. And there was a part of me, a huge part of me, that really, really didn't want to end the relationship because I was emotionally attached to this person. But then when I thought logically about, okay, if I let this person back into my life, how are we going to go to a barbecue with our friends now that I know that he's said all these things about me to his friends? Like, how's that going to work? And for you, think about whatever it is this person has done. Are these really things that you will be able to sit next to this person again and trust them again and feel comfortable with them again? Are you really able to move on from these things that have happened? Can you really let go of the pain, or can you really live with the elephant in the room that might be there now? So that can be something to think about. With the chaotic confusion that can come from an abusive relationship, it can be really easy to overlook this. You can be so overwhelmed with pain and confusion and the decision of whether or not to get back together with this person or whatever it is, that you don't even think about what that would actually feel like in real life, and whether it's even realistic to think that you could ever go back to the way things were before, or to anything that you actually want or that you could actually live with. And another thing that I honestly believe is, when you've gotten to the point where you don't know what to do, where you're agonizing over this decision, I really think that deep down you already know the answer. You just really, really don't want to follow through with what you know is the best thing for you to do. Healthy relationships don't wind up in places where you are tormented with the decision of whether or not to keep this person in your life, or whether or not to continue on with whatever type of relationship you have with them. When you are absolutely tormented with this decision, it usually isn't because you really don't know what it is you should do, it's usually because you really, really, really don't want to do it. And you're just holding on to those little slivers of hope that you're trying to find somewhere that will somehow maybe let you out of this horrible situation that there's really no good way out of. And another thing you might be struggling with is the question of whether or not this person really is sorry, whether or not they're going to do again whatever it is that they've done to hurt you. And something that can really keep us stuck here is that we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know. There is no way to know for sure whether or not this person's going to hurt you again or whether or not they're really sorry. You can't read someone's mind and you can't predict the future. All you can do is look at the past, look at what they've done so far, and ask yourself, what do you think is going to happen? What kind of a person has this person shown you that they are? And is there any reason to think that they've changed? Is there really any reason to think, oh, well, they did this thing, but they're never going to do it again because, I mean, is there really anything there that makes any sense? It's like if you had a friend that was really reliable and always showed up where they said they were going to be, generally on time, you knew you could always count on them, and you set up time to meet with them for dinner. Would you sit and wonder, what if they don't show up for dinner? Are they going to be really late? Are they going to leave me there at the restaurant by myself? No, you wouldn't wonder that, even though you don't know. Maybe they will. You don't have a crystal ball. You can't predict the future, but you know from the kind of person this person has generally shown you that they are, you know from past experience that generally it's worth going to the restaurant to meet them because they're probably going to be there because they've generally been a reliable person. So this person that's hurt you, that's harmed you, I think even though there's no way for you to know for sure if they're ever going to hurt you again or not, you can look at their past behavior and look at how they've treated you and how they generally behave, how they generally have made their decisions. And you can see generally what it is that you can expect in the future, even though you don't have a crystal ball. And hoping for something to change, hoping for their character to change really isn't practical, because unless something huge has happened to this person and they have shown you some huge change of character, some huge change of habit that has remained in place for like a year at least, there's no reason to think that this person is a different person now. Most of us know about Lucy and Charlie Brown and the football, and I think that's a really good example that probably most of us have heard of in this context. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's Lucy, there's this recurring thing where Lucy is holding a football for Charlie Brown to run up and kick, and she pulls it away at the last second every single time he goes to kick it. And it's just something that's recurring in the Peanuts cartoon over and over again. Now, she always gives him some reason to think that this time's going to be different. This time she's not going to pull the ball away. And Charlie Brown falls for it every single time. And every single time Lucy pulls the ball away and he tries to kick it and he falls on his back. This is just a really simple illustration of what I mean when I say look at the pattern of behavior that this person has exhibited. You don't know if Lucy's going to pull the ball away this time. Charlie Brown has no way of predicting that for sure. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know. But all we can do is base our decisions on what has happened in the past and what we've learned from what this person has shown us. And the fact that Charlie Brown wants to kick this ball, and I'm going to guess that part of him wants to be able to trust Lucy, he just keeps giving her a chance over and over again, no matter how many times she shows him that she's going to keep pulling the ball away. And I think it's also important with this example to recognize the fact that Lucy likes pulling the ball away. If you're with somebody that's treated you a certain way or done certain things, they likely did those things and acted that way because that's what they wanted to do. It came from their heart. That's the kind of person they are. That's why they did those things. So that's another thing you can consider when you're trying to decide whether or not to forgive this person is what exactly did they do to you, And what does that say about how they view you? And what does that say about how they feel about the relationship? And how much they respect you, how much they value the relationship. What do their actions show you about the way they feel? And if those things are not things that you want to live with, is there anything to indicate that there's been some big change? Has this friend pulled the football away from you one time when you were playing around? Was this just a one-time occurrence? Or is this like Lucy and Charlie Brown, where this is something you can almost count on happening all the time? Because, Lucy might let Charlie Brown kick the ball. I mean, I don't think she ever did, but what if she did? She might let Charlie Brown kick the ball every now and then just to keep him hanging on, just to keep him believing that there's a chance that she's going to change. And narcissists definitely do this to manipulate us into holding on and to help give us those little slivers of hope, of toxic hope that we really want to find, that we really want to hold on to so that we don't have to impose these consequences and blow our entire lives up based on the way this person's treating us. Narcissists will give us little slivers of hope by doing what we need or showing us what we need to see here and there. But overall, what pattern of behavior has this person shown you? Another thing that you can think about when you're trying to decide whether or not to forgive somebody is, what if the roles were reversed? Would this person forgive you for doing whatever it is they've done to you? What would happen if the roles were reversed? Does this person generally forgive you? Do they show you mercy, grace, understanding? Do they deserve your forgiveness? Or are they somebody that's held everything you've done, every little mistake you've made over your head forever? Narcissists never forgive you for even things you didn't even do, things that they imagined that you did. But they'll generally stick around because they like collecting things to not forgive you for, so that they can pull them out when they want to and hold them over your head so that they can control you with shame, and also make sure that you understand that they are so much better and superior over you. And also, when you try to hold them accountable for anything they've done, they can just pull these things back out and remind you how terrible you are and how you have no right to hold them accountable for anything they do. So let's talk a little bit more about what forgiveness or second chances mean specifically when we're talking about a narcissist, when we're dealing with a narcissistic, toxic, manipulative person. I think it's really important to remember that if assuming that you are a decent, loving person that wants connection, that wants a good, honest, healthy relationship, it's really easy for you to project that onto the other person. It's a natural thing to do, really, because hopefully you are in a relationship with somebody who views it in a similar way to your own. I mean, that's what we all want. We want to be with someone who values the relationship and cares about us. And that's what we've been assuming most of the time, I think, for most of us, right? Realizing you're with a narcissist, part of that is realizing that they are not looking at the relationship the same way that you are. But that can be a really hard thing to process. So when we're trying to decide whether or not we should forgive a narcissist, we can complicate that by projecting the way we view things onto them. For us, if we made a mistake or we did something to hurt the other person, we would probably truly feel sorry. We would probably want to make amends or be forgiven. We might hope we would be forgiven, right? But we would have an honest ability to take accountability and to try to fix things, try to make it right. And we might project that sentiment onto the other person and assume that this other person, if they did something really awful, of course they're sorry, right? Of course they understand that they have done something terrible that they need to make amends for. But when we're dealing with narcissists, that's not at all the way that they are going to view things. Narcissists are always going to make everything your fault. And it doesn't matter how egregious of a thing they've done, how awful they have treated you. They are absolutely dedicated to convincing themselves that everything is somehow your fault. And so why should they be sorry if you're the one that made them cheat on you or you're the one that made them so angry and so that's why they were so mean to you? So I think that's really important to remember when you're dealing with a narcissistic, toxic person. They are not viewing it the same way you would be viewing it if you were in their shoes. They are making it your fault. They're not sorry. And narcissists feel entitled to forgiveness because the only reason you exist is to serve them and their needs. You don't have a right to hold them accountable. You don't have the right to expect them to make things right. You don't have the right to even acknowledge that they've done something terrible to you. You exist to serve them. And if you really cared about them, you would just forgive them. You would just accept everything they've done. You would just accept that it was your fault anyway. And you wouldn't be trying to hold them accountable for something that you ultimately made them do somehow. This is how they look at it in their mind. So they feel entitled to forgiveness, which, as I said earlier, means that they're not sorry for what they've done and they aren't going to accept the consequences that you try to impose in order to protect yourself from the things that they're probably going to keep doing. Also, when you forgive a narcissist or you let them back into your life and you don't impose consequences and stick to those consequences, narcissists view that as permission to continue doing whatever it was they did. It doesn't matter how much you complained or how much you tried to tell them how much they've hurt you. If you let them back into your life or you keep whatever door open it was that allowed them to hurt you, they look at that as like, okay, well, maybe what I did bothered them, but obviously it didn't bother them that much. Seems like it's just fine. There's no real consequences. So why should I change anything? Even though maybe they complained about it, well, obviously it wasn't that big of a deal. So narcissists look at forgiveness as permission to continue. And this is why there's really no way to ever give them a second chance without also telling them at the same time that you're fine with whatever they did to you. You just can't do that. They will always view your second chance as permission to continue on. It's like, you gave them another chance this time, so why should they stop doing whatever it is they did? In their mind, you're always going to give them another chance because you did once. Another way that narcissists manipulate you and guilt trip you into forgiving them when you really don't want to is they turn you into the bad guy. Because, like I said, narcissists are going to turn everything into your fault. You made them do whatever it is they did, right? So in their mind, it's your fault anyway, and now you won't forgive them for something you made them do, and that makes you the bad guy. So in reality, a narcissist can do something terrible to you unprovoked for no reason, and when you try to protect yourself and you refuse to give them another chance to do whatever it is they did, you're the bad guy. You're the aggressor here because you're holding them accountable. You're punishing them for something that they, in their mind, they've done mental acrobats to turn it into your fault. You're the one that made them do whatever they did. So forgiving them is really just giving into this delusion that they have that you owe that to them. And if you don't give them endless chances, you've done something 10 times worse than whatever it is they did to start all this. And I think my point there is, in my opinion, narcissists don't deserve forgiveness because they're not sorry and they will always blame you. Now, if after all of this, you're still confused, you're still conflicted, you still can't decide whether or not you should give this person another chance, whether or not you should forgive them, I've got a couple things that you can think about. First of all, I knew someone really close to me that was in a really abusive relationship, and she had a really hard time deciding whether or not to end this relationship. She had a very long history with this person. There was a lot at stake for her. But she said that one thing that really helped her finally decide to move away from this person, to end the relationship, was the idea of, okay, I'm going to end this relationship, but if this person changes, then I'll go back. But they have to change first. They have to show me some real change. And that gave her some comfort. She said to, instead of wondering, will this person change, to tell herself, okay, if they change, then I'll go back. And of course, you know, you have to come up with your own criteria of what that would mean, what real change would look like. But of course, the person that she left never changed and she never went back. And it was definitely, in my opinion, it was for the good. And she feels that way too. You know, this was something that really needed to come to an end. But emotionally, that helped her let go, to say, okay, instead of wondering, will this person change? Am I walking away from something that might fix itself somehow? Let them change first. Let them show you. Put the burden on them. Let them prove to you somehow that they really are willing to put the effort in to be the person that you need them to be before you give them another chance. They're the one that has hurt you, or they're the one who has betrayed your trust or done whatever it is that they've done. Let the burden be on them to prove to you that they are worthy of forgiveness and another chance. And I think waiting for that can help you emotionally let go of the anxiety and the angst and the torment of wondering whether or not you're doing the right thing. And one more thing that might help if you are really stuck is maybe if you really, really want to give this person another chance, make some rules before you do. Make some really strict rules with yourself that, okay, I'm going to give this person one more chance, but if such and such happens, if they do this thing one more time, if Lucy pulls that football away one more time, that's it. I'm never going to give this person another chance. Communicate that. Decide that for yourself. Make that a rule. And then if you really want to give this person another chance, stick to that. And I think in some situations, that might be a good way to give yourself some closure and to kind of calm the torment of not knowing whether or not you're doing the right thing. Ultimately, like I said, you have no crystal ball. There is no way to know 100% what the future would hold one way or the other. All you can do is go off of the past and who this person has shown you that they are, and the way that their behavior has shown you how they feel about you, whether or not they respect you, whether or not they're willing to listen. Healthy relationships don't cause this much torment. Healthy relationships don't leave you in a position where you're staying up at night wondering whether or not you should give someone another chance to hurt you. People that care about you, they make mistakes and they might do things to hurt you every now and then. But I think that you'll know intuitively when it's a pattern of behavior or when it's a one-off mistake. And I think learning to listen to the part of you that already knows the difference between those two things can be the thing that helps you decide whether or not it really is a good idea to give this person another chance. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.